FNX is the first 24/7 Native and Indigenous themed television station that's national in the USA. We've been around for about 4 years and have had a national feed a little bit over a year now. FNX launched as a partnership between the San Manuel Band of Mission Indians and KVCR Public Television, which is the PBS affiliate based out of San Bernardino, California. They had a partnership, an ongoing partnership for a few years to produce a series, a documentary series called People of the Pines. And based on that documentary, we started throwing around the idea of what would a channel look like that only focuses or only features these type of documentaries. And we mocked it up using the People of the Pine series and a couple other PBS programs and presented it to San Manuel, who was very supportive of that idea. Their chairman, James Ramos, at the time had been, really backing that idea, and so with his help we presented it to the tribe, and it was that's really what launched the FNX channel. FNX is a PBS affiliate, so it's a educational TV station. It's a non-profit, so it functions basically the way a PBS station functions. It's grant funded, it's a viewer funded, and so. But one of the things that I think is really important is that in the U.S. there was not a dedicated voice for Native and Indigenous people, and so. When you present something to a entity like FNX and an educational station like that, there's really a good following for the station, even though it hasn't reached the national level that we wanted to reach. There's definitely a market for it, and especially and there's definitely a need for it. It's a demographic that's really underserved, not just in television, but just in so many different levels, and it's a huge population, not just the American Indian population, but the indigenous population, Maori and New Zealand and Mexican Native American people, and so when you start looking at those numbers and that unity that the station really starts to push for, and I think we're seeing it a lot. We're seeing like tribes from all across the country and indigenous people from all across the world really take well to the different cultures that we're presenting to them. Things that people didn't know and things that are so similar within our cultures. I am Maya Indian, and I see so many similarities between my culture and tribes of the United States. It's really a nice unifying experience for all of us. And I think that the lack of representation that has been there within the United States as far as a broadcast entity goes, that has really helped FNX mature in such a short amount of time. Well, what we try to do is we try to allow different communities to tell their own stories. When we go out and shoot news segments, we let them tell us what is going on at a venue or what is going on with certain issues. We don't try and narrate a piece that we create. We try and let them be the narrators and let them be the storytellers. Whether it's something like a powwow, or if it's issues that they're having with water, we let them tell us what the story is and tell us what the issues are, or let them tell us, or how proud they are of a specific person that's accomplishing great things in outside of their community. Maybe a designer that's living in LA, in a major city that's finding success. We let them tell us that story, and we just kind of are the broadcaster. So we're just echoing their stories in a greater in a greater capacity than was available to them prior. We have a very, very small crew, but a very efficient crew, and so we've shot a full season of a series in a matter of 4 days. But obviously we can't. Filling a 24/7 station, it can't only come from in-house produced shows, and we are very lucky that we formed partnerships with entities such as Vision Maker Media, who has been producing native programming for the PBS system for a very, very long time. And we have partnerships with APTN, which is in Canada, and they've had so many different series that are available to us, whether it's animations, documentaries, entertainment shows, and we've worked with a lot of independent producers that have maybe a film that they created that was in the independent film circuit or film festivals for a year, and then has been on the shelf for 3, 4 years or even more than that. And so we've been acquiring content with independent producers, and so I think having this venue for even I would say even series that were created specifically for PBS, once they are broadcast, there's not a big venue for them, and I think FNX gives them that venue and that entity that's going to consistently broadcast this programming that otherwise doesn't have a long-term run anywhere else. Well, WITBN is a coalition or a collation of TV stations that are very similar to FNX. Maori TV, APTN is one of their members. So there's Aboriginal stations or native themed TV stations, indigenous TV stations outside of just the continental U.S. and Canada. And so this partnership between these entities really allows us to work towards having being able to submit content that can be broadcast by these other entities, and be able to also take content from some of these entities and really give indigenous people from across the globe a voice in the United States. We're tasked to tell a story from a Native perspective, and that includes cultural values, lifestyle values, and being that we allow those communities to tell their own stories really allows us to pass on their values and traditions to our audience. It's really visiting with those communities and sitting down with them and talking to them and listening to their stories, whether it's creation stories or development stories or whether it's environmental stories. Those values from different indigenous people, not within the United States and beyond that. Their telling of their own stories and their own values really is how the station can portray that. We can't give anyone our version of what their stories are. We give their version of their stories, and it's a very varied culture, a very varied people, and we try to give a voice to them as much as we can that directly comes from them. Being a PBS affiliate, there are definitely guidelines that we have to follow as a PBS station, and obviously we're a voice for all Native people, so we have to treat stories from a journalistic perspective and give every involved party a voice, and in line with what the PBS system and PBS motto is. And so there's no calls to action. We're not a non-commercial station, so we're a non-profit, and there's a lot of things that are attached to or guidelines that are attached to being a such an entity. And so there's definitely guidelines that have been put in place from entities like PBS, NAPT, APT, CPB, to be able to keep in line with that public broadcasting entity or a public service station. And so we haven't really had to reinvent the wheel per se. We've kind of been taking those guidelines that have been in existence for a very, very long time, a lot longer than FNX, and cater that to really fit to fit FNX. There's definitely some like our time lengths for shows are varied from the traditional PBS system, and so that really opens up a lot of opportunities for maybe a program that's not quite 30 minutes but is maybe 19. We can feature something like that on the station. The guidelines, like as far as broadcast regulations and underwriting restrictions, they're always going to be there, but our programming and broadcast guidelines can change to fit what the communities can submit to us. FNX is really a voice for Native and Indigenous people, and I think it's very important because now a community that had not seen themselves reflected as anything other than a historical figure can see themselves reflected as a professional skateboarder, a hip-hop artist, a doctor, a lawyer, a filmmaker. You're opening up these avenues to students that maybe didn't know what career path to follow. Obviously, we're a big deal to Indigenous filmmakers, television producers, because now there's a venue for your work. But whatever career path you want to follow, you can see your peers reflected on a national TV channel that lets you know that you can do anything that you put your mind to, anything.